record, and we are recording. All right, welcome everybody. This is our latest edition of our Team Stittsville webinars. We've got a lot of guests today. We're going to be talking to a number of local business owners about how Stittsville businesses are adapting to the new reality of social distancing, physical distancing, and COVID-19. So really looking forward to this, and I want to thank everybody joining us. I'll do some quick introductions, and then we'll dive in and we'll talk to each of our guests one-on-one. So maybe when I say your name, just give a quick wave. Laurie Dickson is on my screen. Hi, Laurie. Laurie's with L&D Tool and Die. Murilo Torres is with Ruckify. Hi, Murilo. How are you? We've got Ben O'Neill and Sarah St. Michael from Ale. We have Jonathan Hatchell from Dunrobin Distilleries, as well as the new Royal Oak that's opening up on Hazeldean Road. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, how you doing?
We have Zeyad Kassis from JoJo's Pizza, and we have Erin Tighe from Agility Physiotherapy. And also on the screen is Veronique from my team. Vero is going to be helping us out with all of the chat and Q&A and some of the technical aspects here. So I did want to mention, if you're watching, there is a chat tool, and there's also a Q&A. So if you have any questions for the guests as we go through, you can enter them there. And we'll try to get all the questions in that we can as we go through. On a technical note, if you're on a laptop, you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view. I prefer the gallery view. It's kind of like a Brady Bunch type of thing. You can see everybody at once, and it's a little easier to follow along. These are live webinars, so you might see some kids jump in. You might see some internet freezing, but bear with us. We'll make it through just like everybody is right now. Anyhow, I think I'd like to start with Laurie Dickson at L&D Tool and Die. I think a lot of people probably have driven by your business on Iber Road many times, had no idea really what goes on behind those walls. Wondering, Laurie, if you could tell us a little bit about what L&D Tool and Die actually is. What do you do there?
We are a custom injection molder. That means we make parts out of plastic. We buy our molds, we make our molds, and we are very fortunate that we've been working with Spartan Bioscience, who is the founder of the coronavirus test unit. We've been with them for 14 years. We've been around for 30 years, of which 17 of those have been in Stittsville. We're very proud to be here. And yeah, that's about all I can really tell you about the company.
And so you've had to, what I read about, I think a lot of people have read about what you do on the CBC article that appeared 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And so I gather this is sort of a natural part of your business. You've always done things that have to do with medical equipment and so on. But you're ramping up, or you're retooling, or how are things changing for your organization with the new work you're doing with Spartan?
Well, this is what we make. This is the swab kit, and you take off the top, and you take the swab, you take from the side of your cheek, and then you put it into Spartan's special box. And what's happened is that we were making small amounts per month, and now we're going up to hundreds of thousands a week. So we had to organize ourselves. We've reshaped the whole of the inside of the factory. In fact, we're going to have to build now within the factory to change the look of it. We've hired 70 people, and most of them are from Stittsville. So yeah, we've been very fortunate that we're working, and we're very fortunate we're able to give work to other people, and very proud that we're able to help. We've tooled up. We have new tools being made at the present moment. And as I say, they're going to take us from a couple of thousand a week to hundreds of thousands a week.
I think you're in your office there on Iber Road right now.
Yeah.
What does a typical day look like for you right now as the person running the company?
Well, let's put it this way. I come to work, I'm here at 7 o'clock. First thing I do is I put my coffee on. If I'm lucky, I get my coffee around about lunchtime. Then I have to go around and I check what everyone's doing, because at the moment we're running 24/7. That means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's literally putting out fires. This has actually brought us as a company to the forefront, and we have a lot of new work. People didn't know about us. We were quite a good secret, and so we do have a lot of work for when hopefully this virus thing goes away from us.
Well, I think a lot of people in the community actually are pretty excited to have an organization like yours, just to know that, you know, there is a company right on the front line of producing equipment that's going to help to get us through this. I'm curious, like, what kind of feedback have you been getting since that CBC News item came out? What kind of emails have you been getting?
I came to work one day and I found this great big envelope in my mailbox that said, "We Canada thank you." And I didn't realize what stress I was under, and I broke down and cried.
Oh,
And really, it makes me a very proud Canadian, which is something good.
all right. Well, we're proud to have you here and thankful for the work that you're doing. So yeah,
Thank you,
lucky to
sir.
have you in Stittsville. Let's
Thank
keep
you.
going around. I want to pass it off to Veronique.
Hey, I'm unmuting myself, and I hope that the noise level in my house is not going to overwhelm anything. Just wave at me if my children get too loud. So I just wanted to move to Zeyad, if you don't mind. So you're a small business in Stittsville, and you're also in the food, in the service industry, in the food industry. And so I'm sure that when the pandemic hit, all sorts of things must have gone to your head. And I'd like you to tell us, like, how you how you felt at first, and how did you adapt to that new reality. I'm sure there's not a lot of options that food service industries can retool into. So I'd love to hear how the pandemic has affected you, and how you're responding to it.
Initially, I think like everybody else, we were all really concerned and scared. Still concerned, but I think with the unknown, and everybody, there's myself and my sisters, and we all have kids, and one of my sisters has an elderly grandparent that lives with her. So first and foremost, I think just health and safety was the largest concern, and then immediately after, we employ lots of students in the community, as I'm sure most of you know, and a lot of them were with so much uncertainty, didn't want to work, or their parents didn't want them to work. So we ended up losing about 60% of our workforce, causing us having to temporarily close one of our locations to try to serve all the areas out of just the two, which in itself is a challenge. So having the concerns of the virus being at top of mind, we immediately decided to close our restaurant doors to the public, just offering contactless pickup and contactless delivery, to limit the risk of, I guess, infection coming into our restaurant, and then perhaps, getting out to the community. So that was a big challenge, having to take payments over phone or tap through a window, leaving stuff at people's doorsteps, especially at the beginning when not very many people were doing it. So it definitely had lots of challenges. And then just being at home, we started to, feel like everybody else, not doing much. It was a challenge to keep the kids occupied. We felt that it was tough to get groceries on a regular basis. So we just had these small ideas, like making a pizza kit, which was a lot of fun that my kids would enjoy. And we'd take us a couple hours to do it, between making it, cooking it, doing some sort of craft, and then eating. So it was a great 2-hour activity. So we offered that to the public, which was very well received. And then seeing that there was a problem for us to get groceries, particularly fruits and vegetables, on a regular basis, without having, your 10 days lead time for your pickups at your grocery stores. And then having small kids at home that seem to not want to stop eating. So just having the, a nutritious snack in the form of fruit, whatever we would order would not last very long, right? You would go through it within a couple days, and it was so far away from your next pickup spot that it was challenging to try to bring up lots of stuff. So we ended up trying to offer these produce packages, which was very well received as well. Again, it still has its challenges, but with the contactless stuff. But we keep trying to make up these kind of innovative, creative ways that people can have a little bit of fun at home and make the stuff that they would probably order out from. But instead of ordering it out, you can spend some time, family time, and get creative and make something at home.
Yeah, no, it's been, I know it's been very appreciated, and a great, just a great pivot in that way. And I'm wondering, like, in terms of your business, like, I don't know how much of that you want to answer, but like, how affected have you been? Like, we hear from some businesses who are thriving in this crisis. We hear some businesses are going under. We hear some businesses are keeping the lights on and confident they can sort of settle. And how do you feel this pivot is working for you? Do you think you can maintain, you stay in business through this crisis?
Well, for us, we're fortunate that we do lots of, well, fortunate and unfortunate. We're fortunate that we serve a lot of the schools in the area. The unfortunate part is that schools are no longer probably, well, the food service within the schools will stop regardless of what the schools go back. So that's a significant impact for us. We also have the ice cream truck that we have lots of bookings scheduled for May and June. Those are all canceled. So there's a big uncertainty. I don't think we'll even open the ice cream truck this year, simply because the events were where the most action was, and we would have it at the garden just to have, be present. The concern, obviously, with having to temporarily close our location is I don't know when we're going to be able to open it, given the fact that we lost 60% of our staff. I don't know when people are going to be willing to come back to work, if their parents or if even their room. There's so much uncertainty. It's like when you shut the door, you don't really know, or especially in this situation, I've never had to do it, so I don't know when it's going to be able, when we're going to be able to open that one location. Yeah. In terms of and then with the minimal staff, is you have to reduce your hours. Again, by reducing your hours, you're also thinking that you're also reducing the risk of something being brought into your location. So if you try to just maintain business throughout the peak periods, it's challenging. But there's always kind of like a silver lining I find with this, is the opportunity to spend more time at home. It's not, we all have young kids, and this time that we're spending now, I don't think we would have been able, I know we wouldn't have been spending at the same time, simply because the kids are in school, but they're not in school, right? So with weather being nice, you get to do lots of biking and stuff that you wouldn't otherwise. So business is tough, it's challenging. We see definitely a decline, especially with having the schools. That is a portion of revenue that we look forward to. And even the events that we normally do, like, most people, a lot of people within the community come through our free events that we host within the parking lot. Mm-hmm. So those things generally we do at the end of school. We do a couple throughout the summer. We do some movie nights, like that stuff all is kind of up in the air. We're most likely not going to be doing any of that. Mm-hmm. So challenges for sure. We'll make do with whatever we have for however long it takes. But it's more of just kind of a pause to get through this period.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, Glenn, back to you.
Yeah, well, let's go over to Erin at Agility Physio. I can see you're in the office there. Yeah. I'm really curious. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about Agility. I know you're at near the Walmart over there on Terry Fox.
Next door to JoJo's.
Yeah.
Ed and I are next door work neighbors. Yeah, so we're in the Walmart Plaza. We've been here for 7 years. We have 9 physiotherapists and 4 massage therapists that we're working in here. And the massage therapists have been told by their licensing body that they can't work at all. And we've been told that we can only see people in clinic under very specific circumstances. So we can still come to work. We are considered an essential service. We can see people in emergency and urgent situations, which is kind of on a case-by-case basis. But it's a big change to go from being a hands-on profession. What we've had to do is we've had to switch to be a telehealth profession. And we're fortunate that movement can still be seen through video. If we didn't have this, like we didn't have video, we didn't have the ability to virtually work with our patients, we'd be in a pretty tough spot. But it's actually incredibly effective. I can watch someone's arms move behind their back. I can get them to move away and bend forward, touch their toes. And movement is what physiotherapists are experts at, and we can still assess it and we can still treat with it, even virtually. So we're in the process of pivoting everything over to a virtual platform. And then on a case-by-case basis, we can bring people in. Essential workers, especially if you're an essential service, and until it doesn't work, we can bring you in. We can still work.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm just thinking of the implications of, what are we on, week 7? I've lost track. If you had to go that long without services like physiotherapy, massage therapy obviously can't continue, but, chiropractors, dentists, all these healthcare professions, that the way that you usually do things is just totally thrown out of whack.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, Erin, if you could tell us more, because that surprised me. You say that you can see essential workers, and there are exceptions made for that. And I was wondering if you could tell us more about that, like what would be involved, like what kind of care do you provide that would be necessary for an essential worker, what they present with, and how you help?
So the way I've been doing it, the way I've been approaching it is everybody starts with a virtual assessment. So we book either a free consult so we can have a chat, or you book an assessment online and we try and see what we can do online. If we can't get pain levels under control or get movement better, at that point in time, we can discuss risks and discuss exposure and bring people in. So I have 2 nurses, registered nurses right now, that are actually coming in for care. One was injured at work, and so she's in through the workplace injury program. The other one was injured not at work, but neither of them could go to work right now because of their symptoms. So we're seeing them in clinic. We did the virtual stuff first, and it wasn't really helping. And then we just screen them every time that they're in. We just ask them the questions about fever and exposure, and they're both great. They understand healthcare too, as healthcare providers. They understand the healthcare aspect, so they're able to come in. So healthcare providers can still come in, grocery workers can still come in. Like if we aren't able to make a difference virtually, we can absolutely bring them in on a case-by-case basis. You're just going to be screened. We're going to ask temperature, we're going to ask exposure, we're going to ask all those questions like everybody else is right now. And we are trying to keep a minimum number of people in clinic at once. So the most we're going to have is a therapist, a patient, and then an admin staff at the front at the very most. So we're just staggering start times, staggering end times. We're making spaces between appointments to make sure that there's no 2 people in here at the same time, or no 2 patients in here at the same time. And so far it's been good. It just means that business is very slow.
I wanted to ask you, there's so many people who are trying to get out and stay active, which is a good thing for obviously physical health and mental health. So people are out walking or on their bikes or rollerblading. Do you have any general tips about, I mean, you must see so many sports related injuries. Is there any advice or tips you'd give to people about, how to get out there and be active, but how to do it without running into problems down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 2 big things that I think that we're seeing is lots of people working in bad positions and not on good desks and not in good chairs. And so they're getting back and neck pain. So the best advice for people right now is break up your day. So do an hour or 2 of work and then get out and walk for 10 minutes or run or whatever it is you want to do. If you break your exercise into small amounts, it's less likely to hurt you. And if you break up your sitting with a physical activity, you're less likely to get sore. So just set alarms somewhere and get up and move, whatever you want. If you want to run, run. If you want to walk, bike, whatever makes you motivated to do it is good for you right now. The number of runners I've seen makes me chuckle. And we're actually going to do a webinar this week on sitting, but next week we're going to have our local running expert in clinic do a Learn to Run webinar or a Facebook Live session so that people who want to learn to run and not get injured can get some tips before it gets to the point where they're sore.
That's a great idea. All right, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to head out for a run. Beto, can you do the rest of the call? I'll see you later.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Erin.
All right, thanks, Glenn.
All right, so it's back at me now so I wanted to ask Sarah and Ben as well to tell us how your business has adapted, and yeah, how you're doing, how you're moving through this crisis. So your business is Ale Restaurant, that's at the Amberwood Golf Course. So I think a lot of people in Stittsville are familiar with it. Yeah, so you can tell us more about how you're doing and how you're coping through this.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ale has been in operation since spring 2016. We actually, I would say, primarily operate as an event venue. Events bookings are probably close to 3/4 of our business, especially in what would be considered the down season. So it's actually sort of, well, this whole situation is just wild, but we were supposed to have our first wedding, so to speak, of the spring season this past Saturday. So weddings are a huge part of our business, along with any other reason folks would be coming together to gather, whether it's a party or a retirement. Obviously, you know, June is fast approaching. That's usually a very busy month when it comes to graduations and that sort of thing. So in a way, I was thinking about this morning in preparation of the call today, and in some ways, obviously, we would all prefer not to be in this situation at all, but we are slightly fortunate, or I guess there is a silver lining for us, that when we were forced to close our doors, it was sort of in what would be considered our down season still. March tends to be a quieter month, and the only reason I'm a little bit thankful for that is it's given us a little bit of extra time to speak with our spring wedding couples, and having to navigate those conversations and everything that needs to be done to support our couples who are, you know, essentially planning for one of, if not the most important day of their life, and having to tell them it's on hold indefinitely right now, has been very challenging and very stressful, because, you know, they're learning about COVID-19 at the same time as us, right? So we can only tell them what we know as well. So with that being said, Ben will attest to this. Ben's part of our management team and takes care of our online presence. We had essentially no regular menu at the time, no takeout platform, no nothing. So even though we technically fall under the food service umbrella, it would probably be just, you know, this time right now that we would be preparing to open the restaurant for full-time operations to coincide with the golf season. So we were just in the preliminary stages of getting all that stuff ready, but it was still a little bit too early. So one of our sort of favorite mottos that we say at Ale is, you know, like, let's just get it done. Say yes and get it done, and let's figure it out. So as soon as we closed our doors, we were very much focused on what are we going to do to keep our business alive with, like I said, 75% of our income essentially coming to a halt. And so with some quick ingenuity, you know, and I got to give it to Ben, he really got our platform up and running quickly. With that being said, we're now focused on grocery delivery, like Zeyad. People can customize their orders. We also do reheat meals now, which are chilled items, and then folks can reheat them at home in their ovens whenever it's convenient. And we just started doing a hot takeout day on Fridays last week, so we'll see how that goes. So right now we're open 3 days a week for business.
And that's been the biggest thing for us too, is really, as everyone is around this table, so to speak, we're all pivoting and trying to be innovative in the best we can to stay alive and thrive throughout this. And so again, that online platform has really been the biggest achievement for us thus far, is really taking a look at how can we both give back to the community, but also stay alive in business and support one another. And that's been a really big theme for us, is how do we support the rest of Stittsville throughout this. And so we've taken an opportunity now to offer, as Sarah said, an a la carte grocery service, which means you can go on our online platform and kind of pick and choose the items that you would like and the quantities that you would like at an affordable price. We're essentially charging what we would pay as a restaurant wholesale for that from our suppliers, and people seem to be really receptive to it. As with anything new, there's a lot of room to grow and to adapt, and with new things comes some growing pains and things along those lines. But we're really proud of where we've come with those reheat meals. Again, if you don't want to have dinner that night of, maybe you're celebrating a special event throughout the week and you want to be prepared in advance. That's something that we're now proud to offer. Same with Friday night dinners. We can also serve you a bottle of wine and things along those lines. But our most proud, I think, thing that we're offering on this online platform is a give back service. So we partnered with a Stittsville local card making business, and so we'll be selling their thank you cards for essential workers and those who are either practicing medicine or who are working at the front lines of this. So our goal with that is the proceeds do go towards a catering that we're going to try to do for essential workers. So there's an opportunity to contribute to that catering online or to purchase a card for someone special in the frontline services. But again, we do really want to show some Stittsville hospitality in that sense. And as Sarah said, we excel at event services and obviously culinary excellence as well throughout the summertime with a regular menu. But this has definitely been a learning curve for us, and it's something that we're excited to explore further. And ideally, we deliver as well. So it's nice to see some of the community and hopefully get our names out there a little bit more for the culinary side of things, because we're known for our event planning and our event services and throw a pretty good party. But this is sort of a fun new page for us. And high tea as well. We're going to be doing a Mother's Day high tea service, which is pretty exciting.
That's great. It's been really interesting to see how businesses has redefined their space. So now you're in the event space. Like, what does an event mean in this pandemic, right? And so people are still going to get married, or they're still going to get together. Life is going to start continuing, but we're just going to have to redefine what an event is and how we mark those milestones. So it's really interesting to see how some business have really, here's how we're going to redefine that space that we used to be in and is now like fundamentally changed. So it's very admirable. And also in terms of like the grocery service, I think is brilliant, because like what we were reading very early on was that it's not so much that there's not enough food, it's just that now everybody eats at home. So there's too much going to restaurants because they can't use it, and it's packaged for restaurants. And I go to the grocery store and there's no flour, right? And so I think it's brilliant to be redirecting and using those being a middleman, if you will, between the supply chain and the consumer. So once again, it's kudos on being able to reinterpret what food services mean and what event mean in this time. So it's great.
That's a great link to our next guest, who's Jonathan Hatchell, talking about adapting and shifting gears to where the demand is. Jonathan, tell us a little bit about. I know you're sort of representing two different but related businesses. So tell us a little bit about your businesses and about how you have shifted gears with COVID-19.
Okay, Glenn. Well, thanks very much for the introduction. I'm standing in a partially finished restaurant that we're building at 6150 Hazeldean, which is the new Royal Oak, which the building was shut down as part of the provincial measures on the construction. Hopefully, we will get an occupancy permit this coming Thursday that will allow us to fire up and do the takeout food. So we, like the other restaurants, JoJo's and at Amberwood Golf Club, we will attempt to pivot. The Royal Oak has never been a big kind of takeout, other than maybe fish and chips the odd time, but it's something that businesses have to adapt to. So that would be with the Royal Oak. We've invested a lot of money. We believe Stittsville is a phenomenal sort of community, and we, in our 40th year, we decided 2020 was where we were going to come. So Stittsville, maybe a month or two late, but the Royal Oak will open. And then my other business is we purchased a property at 1498 Stittsville, Maine, which is the old ugly-looking barn with the red door, which has a salubrious past, which I won't go into now, but if the neighborhood knows about it, they can share the story when we're open. But we were building, or we are going to build, a craft distillery there. We have our building permit plans in. We already have a farm out in Dunrobin where we are distilling. We pivoted like a lot of businesses, and we created a hand sanitizer. So with the help of the provincial and the federal governments, they issued us a COVID-19 license to make hand sanitizer. We have now partnered with Bose Brewery out in Van Cleek Hill. They have a lot of beer that couldn't be used by restaurants because they sell a lot of keg beer. With the restaurants closed, the keg beer has gone stale. So we are repurposing kegged draft beer into hand sanitizer, which is interesting. And should we be able to get the building permit and get up and running on Stittsville, Maine, hopefully, we'll be through the crisis, but we may well even activate a hand sanitizer manufacturing operation on Stittsville High Street, which again will help. There is a huge shortage of hand sanitizer for the retirement homes, the shelters, essential workers of all kinds. We've managed to secure contracts with Giant Tighe for the staff, for the warehouse. When you go shopping, you see them spraying the carts. That's potentially, Dunrobin hand sanitizer. And so we've worked with the construction association. So the new homes being built in Stittsville throughout, they are using Dunrobin's hand sanitizer because obviously the workers need to be kept safe. So yes, it's been quite the year, to say the least. But again, yeah, we're very excited to be part of Stittsville.
Yes, and yeah, it's kind of fascinating, everything that you're involved in. I was looking up on my phone because I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of questions from people saying, where are they opening a distillery on Stittsville, Maine? And I knew I had a photo here. I'm going to show this. I don't know if it'll even work, but try to hold it up. People, I think, will recognize that red door right next to Ivan's, that red garage door. Anyways, the building's been vacant for a while, so I know you're in the process of getting all the permits and so on to get moving on that. But now, you had asked me to get the word out to the community. You're always looking to make donations as well, because part of what you do is you sell, obviously, the hand sanitizer, but you're also looking to make donations. So if people know of an organization, you're not looking to donations to individuals, but more organizations like a hospital, a retirement home,
shelters.
What's the best way to reach you if people have
Glenn, it's probably better for you to put my email out on your sort of website, but it's Jonathan at Dunrobin Distilleries .com, but that can be posted on there. And we have, as a corporate culture, very important to be giving back. And yes, we've helped a few local, I think, Glenn, you approached me and said, could you drop some off at the shelter down on in Canada Center? So we've helped a shelter there. Some of the local retirement homes that have struggled in between orders, because sanitizer is certainly back ordered for a lot of the larger sort of purchases. So it is small potato, but we will help where possible.
Yeah, I remember actually I was speaking with Laurie from L&D last week, and you had mentioned a couple weeks ago you were looking for hand sanitizer for for your team, and you walked into a store, and at first they said, well, there's a limit of one per person, but they ended up realizing what you were doing and allowed you to buy a little bit more. But it's just such a great example of, businesses really are looking out for the best interests of the community.
Yeah, that was Home Hardware in
Home
Stittsville.
Hardware. Okay.
And very, very, very kind. I went in there, they told me I can have one bottle, and I came out with 6 cases. So we needed it. So thank you for them.
Yeah.
Very commendable.
Yeah.
I've actually found this whole thing, I find crisis brings people together. And I find everybody is pulling together here. Everybody.
Yeah.
So it's really lovely.
Yeah. Beto, over to you.
All right. I just had a thought I wanted to close on about crisis bringing together before we move on to Murilo. It was that I was thinking how before this crisis, we all felt strongly like we gave good lip service to, liking our local businesses and our small businesses, but we often made choices that didn't always support them very well. And so we don't mind paying for a beer that's local, but if we buy a case of 24, we'll just buy the cheaper case, But now I think that this crisis is really showing the value of supporting our local businesses, because they'll just go straight out of business overnight. And I think it's been nice to see how people have tried to support local business owners. And I sure hope it's more than talk. I hope you guys are seeing it. So Murilo, so you are with Ruckify, I believe, if I remember. Yeah, that's right. I'm looking at my notes, but when you have the shirt as well, which is it's a rent everything service, if I understand correctly, right?
Yes, Veronique. Thank you so much, Glenn, and everyone to invite me today. I originally am from Brazil, and when I moved like 6 years ago, I think Glenn was one of the first person I had a chance to talk and find a way to how to contribute and to how to integrate in Stittsville. I moved directly from Brazil to Stittsville. So I don't know if you remember, Glenn, the few conversations I had at Quitter's Cafe, and it was amazing. And now I recognize few faces. Laurie, we met a year ago, probably Jason from SmartCon introduced us. I used to work for IBM in Brazil, so that's why you have this connection. And my wedding was last year with Ben and Sarah. It was amazing. We had like a very small ceremony, and my son, his favorite pizza is Jojo, so every Friday is a Friday pizza. He studied in a Sacred Heart, so for him it's every Friday was a pizza day. So we keep doing this tradition here, so I really appreciate everything you guys doing. And Royal Oak was my go-to place before and after my hockey games when I have my friends, so it's walk distance for me. So it's amazing how everything is connected in one screen. And Ruckify gave me the opportunity to connect all the dots I built so far in my life since I moved from Brazil. And it's being involved with the community. It's involved with a junior achievement and helping the students how to be entrepreneur, help you open their own business. So Ruckify is like a Uber. It's like Skip the Dishes. It's like it's an app when you can download and you can post everything you own in your garage. You own your stuff. So for kids and teenagers, they have the video games, they have the consoles, they have anything, the camp gears. And for us homeowners, if I need a lawnmower, if I need a snowblower, if I need any tool, can imagine for me when I moved from Brazil, I didn't have money to buy anything. So I had to knock my neighbor's door, say, can I use your lawnmower for 1 or 2 days? And now with Ruckify is giving the opportunity for us to share the economy. And for all different business, I know it's being a big hit, but for us was one of the biggest thing happened, like when you need to help more, we need to engage more the community. So United Way reach out to us, and now we are connecting people. They have access to computers or smartphones or any kind of technology. So we are the providers, like we're connecting people who owns the computer or who owns an extra laptop or a smartphone, and you're doing the delivery. So our app is like a touchless and a cashless. So it's like very friendly in that big crisis. And I don't say it's was good for us. COVID was not good for anyone, but we had a big opportunity to change our business and to pivot and now be totally online. We are already in 30 different cities. I was in Austin when all this happened. I was opened a business in US, in Texas, and I had to come back. So now we are based, of course, we are here in Ottawa, in Stittsville. We have like almost 67 employees, and we are growing virtually. So now we just launched a referral program. So we're gonna help individuals like me, like you, to make to $3,000. So if you refer someone and they're gonna use Ruckify, you're gonna be able to monetize 10% of all this profit instead to stay with Ruckify. We're giving back to the community. So Ruckify is not charging any fee. We are just giving back to our individuals. So can you imagine like Uber decide to not charge their fee and they're giving back 100% to the driver. So that's what we're doing now with Ruckify. So thank you everyone. And Glenn, I don't have words to thank everything you support me and you keeping me ongoing and sharing your excitement with Stittsville.
So have you found that they're still using the service? Like I would think that people would have reservations about renting stuff from other people. I know people are worried right now about social distancing and so have you found that there is still that community exchange going on?
Just to have an idea, we are sold out with treadmills, bicycles, and gym equipment. So everybody could go to the gym. So now we're helping gym owners to rent their own equipment. So we are, I don't say desperate, but we have like a big long list with gym equipments, and then computers, laptops. With the United Way, we're helping more than 10 different not-profit organizations to give access to people who don't have access to technology. So we have a big list also. So even if you guys looking around and you see an extra computer, extra laptop, and if you don't want it to deal with, you can just donate it, your old device, and you're helping. We do all the cleaning. We are doing all the sanitization to delivery, and it's touchless and cashless. So it's being more useful now than it was before, because used to be me delivering my own treadmill or my own equipment to my neighbor was asking for. So now we have like Uber drivers, we call Rock Express. So we do the delivery, we pick up in your house and you deliver to who's renting from you. So everything is through the app and we can track your item. We have the insurance. So also it's giving you the piece, okay, I do have a treadmill I'm not using, but I know a lot of people need to use that treadmill if they're addicted to go to the gym. And if you post online, you're gonna make $80 a month and you don't need to touch. And something happened with your treadmill, with your equipment, Ruckify, we have insurance to cover everything, to repair or even buy a new one for you. So it's being more useful now. I feel like more attraction, more people is using our app than before. And now we have time to post the items. So we used to be, oh, Murilo, I don't have time for this. I have 20 items in my garage. I have a treadmill, a canoe, a kayak, but I really want to post my items, but I don't have time. But now they are coming back to me, said, Murilo, remember, now I have time. All this picture is here, so how we can promote my store. So that's a social distance. Now it's helping us to, people have more time to do it. They're thinking about how they can make extra money. A lot of people lose jobs instead to drive for Uber or working for Tim Hortons. They can like make extra money and get some extra income. And now with this referral program, just to refer your friend to use Ruckify, you're going to be able to make like 10% of his renting, because you're not taking that 10%. It used to be our fee. Now you're giving back to the community. So it is like a way to give back to the community. So we have a lot of people using more than used to.
No, I think that's a great idea. Also, like for all sorts of good reasons, community building is an important one. So that's great.
Yeah.
Right,
And on top of all this, we plant a tree per transaction. So that's also is like helping the planet, giving back to the economy, how we can. So it's everything is like it's a combination of good things. So thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
We're actually nearly out of time. This has flown right by, and really fascinating to hear all the different ways that you've all adapted. I wanted to throw out a question, and anybody who wants to answer, just so we don't all talk at once, just put up your hand if you have something you wanted to share. You know, we've heard a lot, I think, how difficult it is right now for every business, especially small businesses. And I know all of you have been impacted in terms of employees and having to lay off staff, and even personally how to figure out what's next. But I'm wondering if, just looking ahead, what do you think some of the biggest challenges will be in the short term as this continues, but then also as we sort of return to some kind of normal? Where do you see some of the challenges over the next few weeks and months? I see Jonathan's hand up first. So Jonathan, over to you.
Well, the thing that I think, Glenn, it is going to be that people's habits will change. It's like when a road gets shut down and roadworks stop you driving that way, you often change your pattern on how you drive to work. And I really believe that the economy is really going to fast gear into this e-commerce, and a lot of companies that haven't used e-commerce are now using it and finding out how easy it is. So I think we're going to see a huge change of culture. We're also going to see a huge change of people's habits shopping on the high street. So we as sort of business folk are really going to have to be creative to get people back out onto the high streets. And I know one of your pet projects is to make sure that Stittsville has a vibrant high street. So I think, part of the business association, the business owners, we have to dig in after this crisis and get a good strategy on how to make Stittsville strong from a community perspective. That's what I would.
Definitely a lot of opportunity coming through this, for sure. Anyone else want to weigh in on challenges? Sarah, your hand is up. Sarah.
Yeah, I think obviously I echo a lot of what Jonathan said. Our biggest challenge, which I think Veronique sort of addressed when we were chatting earlier, is what does an event look like in the future? That's a huge challenge for us for right now. We're obviously looking for government guidelines in the coming weeks to see what sort of time frame we can offer people. How long is it going to be before 10 people are allowed to gather, or 25 or 50 and beyond? So coming up with multiple strategies to not only meet those different needs and sort of having a plan A, plan B, plan C right now, but again, to sort of get back to what Jonathan was saying, our culture is going to change. Will people even want to be gathering in large groups moving forward, is going to be a big question that we're going to see. So I know for Ben and I, we're looking at ways to maybe stream weddings for long distance family members or immunocompromised people to still quote unquote be there without physically being there. So again, taking advantage of new technology and figuring it out. And I think too, we are already adjusting. We just need to keep adjusting. But yeah, in terms of a challenge, that's a huge challenge for our business, is to hopefully get some sort of timeline together sooner than later. Obviously, everyone is working hard to figure those things out every single day. And we're aware of that as well. And just figuring out eventually what the community's overall feeling about gathering in groups is going to be, and what it's going to look like for the future.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to weigh in on this one before we move on? All right. Beto, did you have any questions you wanted to throw in here?
Well, I do have a question, and I think it's mostly to our friends who are in the food and beverage industry, but I'd be curious to see if it applies to other people. Is that yesterday the government of Ontario released its plan to reopen the economy, and I don't know if any of you have followed the guidelines, which are still very broad, and it's that you have a staged reopening, and like every stage is 2 to 4 weeks, and then we see how it goes, and if we have flare-ups, then whoops, we move back to the previous stage, and we see how we can move through those stages until we're at fully open. So it seems that for the foreseeable future, there's going to be a bit of a back and forth responding to flare-ups in the virus and the pandemic. And I'm wondering, it's like, for me, I'm looking and I'm like, how in the food and beverage industry, it's like you have inventory, you have perishable items, and I was wondering if you guys have started thinking about how that kind of phased reopening is going to look like, and how you can protect yourself from losses, you know, if things close down suddenly again, and so you're not caught with your pants down. Because I think at the beginning, the first closing down of everything caught a lot of people with their pants down. It was very quickly, things changed on the half day, it seemed. But now that we're looking at a sort of on-off recovery, and maybe it's too complicated a question, but if anyone wants to venture into that, I'd be really curious to hear about it.
I'd love to weigh in on that. And I think we've learned through practice at this point that obviously we've always thought about how to anticipate the traffic that we're going to get in the business we're going to get, and how we can obviously prevent food waste and prevent exactly as you're saying, produce from going bad and things like that. And obviously we set a very high standard for ourselves in terms of what we do provide to our guests in terms of our services, whether it's groceries or takeout. But what we did have the opportunity to do when all this came about was to donate a lot of perishable items to the Stittsville and Kanata food banks, which we feel very grateful about. And for other things that we are able to salvage, we week by week, we look at ways to create fresh and innovative specials and things that will really help us to ensure that we're not having any food that is lower in quality or is wasted and thrown out. Because obviously, when we look at the supply chain right now, that's a very big thing moving forward, is how do we prevent those wasteful practices? Because as we all know, things have the potential to lower in quantities and what's going to be available and not available moving forward. So a big thing for us is definitely looking at, for us, we've done small scale to big scale events. Our smallest wedding to date was, I think, 27 people. So we look at things like that and anticipate kind of week by week reservations and things like that. How do we order in what we need? And if we are a little bit high, how do we contribute back to the community, or how do we turn it into something tasty that isn't going to go to waste? So if we have a bunch of produce lying around, we can turn that into a soup that is just incredible and
I
really
think
enjoys. Again, those are practices that I think everyone should think about moving forward.
just to quickly just jump in on ale and give it away to someone else here, but I think the biggest thing which all of us on this panel can say, it's hands-on ownership that is going to carry us all through as well. And at Ale, we're very fortunate. Very fortunate. Ben's been with us since day one. Is an incredibly loyal employee, and is still with us right now. And then there's myself, and our chef co-owns the business as well. And it's somebody, I forget who mentioned it. I think it was Murilo mentioned, time is usually a luxury that none of us have, and right now we all have it. So putting in the time and being hands-on owners and getting our hands dirty, like I'm sure all of us do every day regardless, that's a huge factor.
All right. And Jonathan, you had a few words?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a huge human cost to this. Reopening and bringing staff back. It was probably one of the toughest days of my life, having to lay off 400 people on March the 16th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's one of those days that you don't forget. Bringing people back, and then if there's a second wave, having to lay off, and it is just something we have to be very careful from, and you listen to the provincial government, and I think they are very sensible. As they said, they are offering a plan, not a calendar, because if we jump ahead too quickly, we'll end up with a second wave similar to Singapore and some of the other countries that were ahead of us. And there is such a huge cost. It's an emotional ride, as I think, you know, you can see by the faces of the panel. You know, there's euphoria, and there's, I think someone said to me, you're somewhere in between hope and hopelessness. You know, you don't really know from day to day or from hour to hour how from being an optimist to being a downright sort of pessimist. So I just caution, you know, let's take it step by step, and you know, all things being equal, we will be through it, but we'll be a very different society when we get through this.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks everybody. You know, we are up at our time limit right now, but it's been fascinating listening to all your stories. I think for people who are watching, just another reminder how important it is to support our local businesses. These are all businesses who are doing everything they can to keep their doors open and stay alive. And also, you know, I'm thankful just to have businesses open, because it does give you a bit of an anchor into, you know, some kind of normal life, you know, beyond, you know, the practical things you're doing, you know, Erin providing physiotherapy and you know, Zeyad providing pizza. It gives us a link to other real people, and you know, helps us to make us through this and make it through it together. So I hope residents are continuing to support you, and when this all is over, and it will be over someday, that we'll be supporting our local businesses even more than ever. So it was great to have everybody joining us from all corners of Stittsville today. Murilo, Ben, Sarah, Jonathan, Zeyad, Erin, Laurie, and Veronique for co-hosting today. Our next webinar is coming up on Friday with Dr. Vera Etches. So it's a webinar for Stittsville residents. It'll be an interactive webinar. So if anyone has questions they want to ask Dr. Etches, we'll be taking your questions for an hour. And we've got some other webinars coming up next week and beyond. You can go to glengower.ca/webinars for the whole list. And once again, thanks to everybody for participating, and thanks for everybody for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care, everybody. Bye.